as I wave my yellow flag. And, you know, I could wave a white one and surrender, but hell no. If I waved the red flag, then the smoke would be on. However, I am waving the yellow flag because there is definitely a lot of contention going on in these TikTok streets on the social media level of our existence. And I'm seeing a lot of back and forth between spiritual folks and folks who are religious. Now, I'm going to dial this conversation to the Black Christian sect of religion because that's where I come from. I was a 17-year-old fire and brimstone apostolic preacher. I'm not that young anymore. About 5 years ago, I transitioned out of Christianity. And the reason I transitioned out of Christianity is because I wasn't getting my answers properly answered. I wouldn't get my questions properly answered from the church folks, meaning they didn't know. They told me to have faith. They told me that in due time, God will reveal whatever he had to reveal for me. And I just had to stay in the faith and continue to believe. However, me staying in the faith and continuing to believe wasn't enough for a person who was at that point unknowingly under the in the process of this shift in my consciousness. I didn't know that this shit was going to happen the way that it happened. It just happened the way that it did. And one day, I could vividly remember it, that I had the Bible in my hand, and it just dawned on me. Damn it, you mean to tell me that this whole thing is either worship Jesus or go to hell? I didn't like that, man. And here's why I didn't like that. It's because I don't know how many people have come and gone on this earth from the day this whole thing was formed up until this very moment. I can't give you the number, but I know that there has been billions of people who missed the gospel of Jesus. Billions of people who never heard the gospel of Jesus, which means that there are billions of people in hell. That's why the Bible say, which the church folks can use this as a reference. They say, hell will open his mouth without a measure to take all of the unbelievers. Now, I'm paraphrasing it, but that is a scripture that most church folks hang on when you look at the fact that the world is going haywire. There's all this injustice. There's all this bickering back and forth. And there are way more people on this planet right now who are on purpose not following Jesus. On purpose. I.e. the Muslims. I.e. Jehovah's Witnesses. I.e. Jews. Hebrew Israelites. Oh my God. Anyway, there's all of this friction and all of this talk of the end times. We've had a lot of violence going on, a lot of injustice going on. There's trains wrecking, there's UFOs, and there's all this talks of war. People think it's going to be a World War III, and they're going to those scriptures and assuming that these are the last times. During 2020, during the lockdown with COVID, those were the end times. 9/11 was the end times. During the times of the Rodney King riots, those were the end times. Desert Storm was the end times. All the shit that's going on in the Middle East, If you go at any point in the last 25, 30, 40, 50 years and you go to any church, they all talking about the end times. Everybody's expecting Jesus to fall out of the sky at any moment to save us all. Or at least save those believers, which, like I said, it don't sit right with me, because there's definitely a gang of people who don't know who Jesus even is. There are generations of families, communities, countries, continents of people who never heard the word Jesus. In fact, back when Jesus was actually roaming the earth, that wasn't even his name, because you couldn't have a J. There were no J's back then. So now they're saying Yahshua, Yahweh, this, that, and the third, and I get all that. But the fact of the matter is, there's so many different avenues of where people can take to get their information. But there's only one truth. And it seems like for every one truth, there's a trillion beliefs and faiths. Okay? Combined. There's faiths, beliefs, but the difference between faith and belief and truth is there's no wavering on the truth. So the religious folks, I get it. I was once there. I even argued with my own mama back when I was a 17-year-old kid, 18, 19. She didn't like what I was doing. It didn't mean that she wasn't right or she was wrong. It just mean that at that particular point, the shit that was coming out of my mouth was so contrary to the boy that she raised, the little hip hop kid that was getting into the point where he was chasing little girls around, and all of a sudden, goes to church, and now it's just gospel music. He's listening to sermons. He's dressed in a different way. All of his friends are gone, and all of his friends now are just in a church that only had 15 to 20, 30 members in it. I get where my mom was coming from back then, where she was so adamant about, dude, you need to rethink this stuff through, and you need to do a little bit more research, because you don't know what you are doing as far as whether it's 100% fact, truth, or whether you just believe in something that people have told you. This is the difference between spiritual folks nowadays and religious folks nowadays. Spiritual folks can bring you up facts. We can go tell you about Kemet, and we can tell you about different things that we've learned from a historical standpoint and from a science standpoint. And we can tell you if anybody in that Bible was there or not. If they were historical figures or they were just part of the story that you put in those 66 books. In fact, I mean, shit, there's the lost books of the Bible. There's a Bible that wasn't even included in the main Bible. There's also other books that you can find that were probably written along those same times back then. But the point of the matter is, the spiritual folks have went through the ringer when it comes to the knowledge. I'm waving the yellow flag because I think there's so many other things that black folks can have a difference in. But there's a few things that black folks can stand on together that can process, and we can stand on, and we could be unified in. But we're so brainwashed, and we're so taken advantage of, and we're so spiritually stripped, and we're so emotionally destroyed and mentally terrified that we would rather take a chance that Jesus may not be real and live a Christian or religious life than to be liberated with truth and facts and come into a space of love and caring and wanting to see everybody win. That's what's happening today. And it's bullshit. I'm going to give you a part 2.